All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, 1 month ago, there was a buzz when the North Carolina Tar Heels took the field to begin this college football season, as it's, of course, their first year under the watch, if you will, of former NFL head coach Bill Belichick. But after North Carolina scored a touchdown on their first drive of the game, their first drive of the season, Belichick has received a harsh reality of life for him in college football so far. All right. Now, so far this season, North Carolina is 2-3, but they're 0-3 against schools from power conferences, and none of those losses have been pretty for the Tar Heels. 48-14 to begin the season against TCU. 34-9 a couple of weeks ago on the road against UCF, and then today's 38-10 beatdown at the hands of Clemson. And honestly, this was a Clemson team that coming into play today, they had been struggling on offense all season long. Clemson had not scored more than 30 points in a game this season. Honestly, coming into today, their season high was 27, and it was like watching Clemson's offense was like watching paint dry to this point because it was simply a struggle. And Clemson, watching them today, they look like the '99 St. Louis Rams out there. It's one of those, basically from the opening kickoff. Clemson took their first play of the game. Cade Klubnik, throws back to the halfback who throws to the wide receiver for a wide open touchdown, and the floodgates just simply opened up. It was 35-3 at the half. And when it got to that point, the student section basically at Keenan Memorial Stadium in Chapel Hill had seen enough, and they said, you know what, let's get the partying started earlier. We got some studying, whatever weekend activities they needed to do or wanted to do, they got them done a little bit earlier, or got to them a little bit earlier. Okay, um, it was 38-3 at one point, and of course the game finished 38-10. And honestly, it's one of those where the final score could have been a lot worse if Dabo Swinney, Clemson's head coach, wanted to keep his foot on the gas. But I think, he basically called it off out of respect for Bill Belichick. Now, with all of that said, all right, could there be better days ahead for Bill Belichick in Chapel Hill? Possibly. Okay. As I said this coming into the season, and I'll stick by it right now. His going to North Carolina was the ultimate wild card for this college football season because nobody knew what to expect. And the big reason is as much as Belichick has accomplished in the National Football League, he has never coached at the college level prior to this year. Whether it was an assistant, head coach, you name it, nothing. Okay, and I know that there are going to be plenty of people we're going to be ready to pile on Belichick after this 2-3 start. But at the end of the day, Bill Belichick is going to be Bill Belichick. And then North Carolina, they took a chance on hiring him for a lot of reasons. I think North Carolina wanted to create a buzz by bringing Bill Belichick in. Okay, you have people talking about your program. But right now, I think you have people talking about your program for the wrong reasons. There's a possibility that Belichick could begin to recruit some talented football players to play for him. Okay, if you want to be optimistic, but if you want to be a realist about it, you look at Bill Belichick's track record for about the last 7 or 8 years when he was the head coach slash general manager of the New England Patriots. It wasn't good as far as his player selection, especially when it came to drafting guys. And I said this before. I said this even going back to last year for the Patriots under now former head coach Gerard Mayo, is that Bill Belichick didn't do a good job of drafting guys, and it showed. And basically the Patriots had to start from scratch. And even those last couple of years for Belichick with the Patriots when it really wasn't good. I said, you know what? Bill Belichick, the general manager, did a disservice to Bill Belichick, the head coach. So when it's all said and done, is like, can you really trust him at the collegiate level to go out there and properly recruit? So it's one of those for me, and I know a lot of people are saying this as well right now. Mac Brown is 74 years old. This is who North Carolina got off of. A Mac Brown who won more games than any other head coach in North Carolina history. And you got off of him for a 73-year-old Bill Belichick. And it's one of those where I felt that if North Carolina was going to get off of Mac Brown and go in another direction, you don't go out there and hire another 70 plus head coach. You go out there and you hire some fresh blood, somebody who is going to be able to take your football program not only to the next level, but navigate through, these murky waters in college football right now, as far as being able to navigate through the NIL era. And I don't think that North Carolina really uh, was on point with that so far. So you look at it and you got to ask yourself, like I said, 48-14 to TCU, 34-9 to UCF, and then 38-10 to Clemson. How many more of these blowout losses will the North Carolina boosters and alums around this program be willing to stomach before they say, hey, enough is enough, and we made a mistake in bringing in Bill Belichick? You look at it right now. North Carolina, they're off next Saturday before they travel to Berkeley on the 17th to take on Cal. They then come back for the final Saturday of the month to host Virginia, a Virginia team that is currently ranked, probably going to move up today after their overtime win over Louisville. I look at it like this for North Carolina. We got to see what the second half of this season is going to be like. Of course, there are some people out there who are saying maybe Bill Belichick is one and done in college. We don't know. I'll tell you like this. North Carolina took a chance on Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick took a chance on North Carolina, again, because this is uncharted waters for him. And I think so far it's showing. Okay. And again, now post Tom Brady, Bill Belichick's record as a head coach since he parted with Tom Brady after the 2019 NFL season is 31-41. Once you combine that with his 2-3 start here with North Carolina this season, and of course with that sub 500 record that Belichick is currently carrying, of course his detractors are simply going to say, "I told you so." The big question for me is, and I said this when North Carolina hired Belichick, does he have what it takes to relate to 19 and 20-year-olds in this current NIL era? I give him all of the credit in the world. You bring in Michael Lombardi to be basically the GM of your football program, and that's what you need in this current NIL era. Okay, you need a general manager, and Michael Lombardi is a guy who understands the finances of it. He had a long tenured has a long tenured resume in front office work in the National Football League, and now he's trying to do it collegiately. But nonetheless, you still have to wonder if Belichick can relate to those guys. There's going to be some kids that are going to say, "Hey, you know what? I look at Belichick's track record in the National Football League. He knows what it takes for me to get there. I'll listen to him." But still, the age gap. And I know some people are going to hear age gap and talk about, well, Belichick's dating a 25-year-old. I get it. But still, you've got to go out there and be able to relate to these young players. I'm not sure if Belichick can get it done. Did North Carolina make a mistake in hiring Bill Belichick? I think it's still too early to say. I want to see how this season plays out, but I will say this. Depending on how this season plays out, the second half of the season now for the Tar Heels, it would not surprise me to see Bill Belichick be a one and done college head coach. It's one of those where I think Belichick took this job because there were no more jobs for him in the National Football League. And the bottom line is, a guy like Bill Belichick wants to come in and he wants to have plenty of say in personnel decisions. And I didn't see a team that was going to be willing to do that for Bill Belichick. And Bill Belichick loves to coach. I'm not going to take that away from him. Some people are born to wear a whistle. That's Bill Belichick. And I guess he figured, you know what? I can't get another job in the NFL right now. Let me go see what I can do at the collegiate ranks. I give him all of the effort in the world for trying, but there's a possibility, in my opinion, that if North Carolina's bad, like if we're talking about North Carolina possibly being 4-8 or maybe a 3-9, because I think they're going to win a couple more games this year. All right, they're 2-3 right now, but nonetheless, maybe just maybe the school says, you know what, we've seen enough. Bill, you can ride off into the sunset. I know he clearly doesn't want to see it end like that, and I truly do think that Belichick does want another shot in the National Football League. And I think the showing so far, at least this year, with the Tar Heels is not going to help his standings. But nonetheless, we've got to see how things work out there. Can Belichick turn things around in Chapel Hill? It's going to be an uphill battle. And I think we're seeing that right now because if you go out there and get your quarterback, if you go out there and get some linemen, and I know he's probably going to be trying to recruit hard to get some freshmen in there to his program for 2026, but you can't just expect those guys to come in, at the drop of a dime and turn things around. And again, going back to Belichick in the NFL, especially on the defensive side of the football, a lot of what Belichick was able to do was with veteran players. He didn't have, the developing and bringing in young guys was not, one of his strong points. Okay, so now you're going to ask him to do it with even younger guys at the collegiate level. To me, I think it's going to be very tough. I think his the other head coaches around the league and the ACC definitely have a ton of respect for what Bill Belichick has done in the National Football League as a head coach. Tremendous defensive coordinator as well, tremendous defensive mind. But college and the pros are two different things, and especially for him coming to the collegiate game at this state of the game is going to be tough. Another bye week for North Carolina. They had a bye week coming into this game today, and they got the brakes beaten off of them courtesy of Clemson. They've got another bye week, like I said, before they go west and take on Cal before they got to come back and take on Virginia. But nonetheless, there was a buzz at the beginning of the season. That buzz is going away, and I think there's empty seats now, Keenan Memorial, more empty seats than there were during the final days of the Mac Brown era. I think what North Carolina needs is some young blood. They need some new life. If they wanted to cut ties with Bill Belichick after this season, I totally understand. There's going to be a lot of openings at power conferences, at power schools from power conferences this off season. So if you're in North Carolina, if you want to do that, you need to get your bread ready, A, to buy out Belichick, and B, to go out there and get one of these young coaches. But nonetheless, North Carolina needs somebody who's going to give them gusto, who's going to give this program life, especially the rumors about them possibly going to the SEC several years down the road, especially if they want that to happen and if they expect to try to keep up in arguably the toughest football league in the nation. But nonetheless, this Bill Belichick experiment so far is not working out at Chapel Hill. Let's see how long North Carolina decides to stick with him. Let's see how long Bill Belichick decides to stick with North Carolina. But nonetheless, the results so far on Saturdays are not good. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, I will give you that follow right back in return. Also, getting back to liking and subscribing, folks. We're right there. We're knocking on the door. Just 4 more subscribers to that magic number of 1,000. Also, if you are on Instagram, you can check us out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. And like I say, the same thing for the X. You give me that follow, I will give you that follow right back. And definitely check me out on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.